All right, this lesson is on adding and subtracting rationals. So let's just look at some examples. I'm going to remind you that when you add or subtract fractions, the denominators need to be the same. So if the denominators are the same, then we just add the numerators. So if I add the two numerators together, that's 2 plus x. They're unlike, so they can only go beside each other. At this step, we need to see if we can simplify the answer. So factor out the denominator. Recognize that 2 plus x and x plus 2 are the same. They're removable. And then when you remove, it's not 0, it's 1 that's left. And so your answer is 1 over x plus 3. That's adding, and we'll do some subtracting too. So let's start with step 1 again. If I'm adding fractions, the denominators need to be the same. They are. Then add the numerators. So x plus x is 2x, and 4 plus 6 is 10. At this step, we're going to try to factor and simplify it if we can. So the numerator, you factor out a 2. The denominator, this is called a difference of squares. Now look, x plus 5 factors out, and you're left with 2 over x minus 5. What happens when the denominators are not the same? So here's an example. They're not the same, but I want to add them together. So step 1 in this case is to factor. That's a common theme, right? It's to factor first. So can you factor this for me? The two numbers are positive 4 and negative 3. We're going to do the same thing with the second one. Factor this together. So if you factor that, you factor out an x, and you're left with x plus 4. Now my goal is to make the denominators the same, so I want to see if there's anything the same right now. So x plus 4 and x plus 4 are the same, so then I need to include what's not the same. So what does this denominator need that this one has? And so the answer is it needs an x subtract 3, so they can match. And whatever I multiply to the denominator, I need to multiply to the numerator. And then I look, what does this denominator need that this one has? So it needs just an x. So I multiply top and bottom by that. Now look carefully. Are the denominators the same? At this step, we're going to combine it into one fraction. So we have 3x. 4 times x is 4x. So if I add them together, that's 7x. And then 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. This is not factorable, and nothing else simplifies here, and there's your answer. So again, what happens when the denominators are not the same? So I want to add these together, but the denominators are not the same, and it's not factorable. So now what? So in this scenario, I'm going to take the other denominator, in this case x plus 2, and I'm going to multiply top and bottom by that. The second fraction, I'm going to do the same thing with the other denominator. So x subtract 1, top and bottom. Now the denominators are the same. Order doesn't matter. And now I'm going to distribute. That's 2x plus 4. I'm going to distribute. That's 3x minus 3. And then the last step is to combine like terms. So 2 plus 3, that's 5x. 4, take away 3, that's 1. And you just added those rational expressions by making common denominators and then simplifying it. So you might need to distribute, combine like terms, and then you have your answer. Here's an example of subtracting. If I'm going to subtract fractions, the denominators need to be the same. They're not the same. So step 1 is, can you factor it to begin with? So one denominator can be factored. This is called a difference of squares. X plus 7, x subtract 7. And then I need to make the denominators the same. So I'm going to multiply top and bottom by x minus 7. Now the denominators are the same. If I look at the numerators, I want to distribute. So negative 3 times x, so this negative belongs to the 3. So it's negative 3x, and it's negative 3 times negative 7, which is 21. So our final answer when we combine like terms is negative 2x plus 21. All right, one more example of adding and subtracting when the denominators are not the same. So here the denominators are not the same. Step 1 is to factor. So the two numbers are 6 and 4. Same thing here in the denominator, factor. The two numbers are 6 and 5. And now look, what do they have the same and what do they need? So the first denominator needs an x plus 5, top and bottom. The second denominator needs an x plus 4, top and bottom. Now I'm going to distribute and be careful about that negative. That negative makes that a negative 2. So now we have one fraction, one denominator. So we take that common denominator and write it over again. So I have 5x plus 25. Remember, this is negative 2. So it's negative 2x, and negative 2 times 4 is negative 8. Combine like terms, and you have your answer. So 5 take away 2 is 3x. 25 take away 8 is 17. And that's not factorable, and there's your answer. All right, here are our last examples. Sometimes these are called complex fractions, when you have fractions within fractions within fractions. So what happens when you have fractions within a fraction? And how would I handle that situation? So step 1 is look at only the numerator or only the denominator and write it as one fraction. So this numerator has 2 fractions. I need to write it as one fraction. Well, I need common denominators to write it as one fraction. So I'm going to multiply the first one by 2 and the second one by x so I can get common denominators. So my common denominator is 2x, and 1 times 2 is 2, and 1 times x is x. So now it's one fraction. 4x plus 8, I want you to think of that as a fraction and put a 1 underneath it, because our next step is we're dividing fractions. So our next step is to multiply times the reciprocal. So I take the denominator and I do the reciprocal. The last step is to see if I can factor and simplify. So 4x plus 8, factor out a 4. And then x plus 2 and 2 plus x are the same. They're removable. So all I'm left with is 1 times 1. And then 2x times 4 is 8x. And you have your answer. All right, let's do that again. I got 2 more examples and the lesson's over. Do you know how to simplify this? What would the steps be? So don't give up. So step 1 is, can we write this as one fraction? In order to do that, I need common denominators. So I'm going to multiply top and bottom times 2 to make common denominators. So our common denominator is 4x. And then I have 3 subtract 2. I got that. Now look at the denominator. I need common denominators. So I'm going to multiply by 6. And I'm going to multiply by x. And then 6 times 1 plus x is just 6 plus x. And then the denominator, the common denominator, is 6x. At this step, we're going to multiply times the reciprocal. So we're going to change it from dividing to multiplying. We're going to do the reciprocal. We're going to see if there's anything factorable or if anything is removable. I want you to notice the x is removable. And that leaves me with 6 over, now be careful here, this 4 multiplies both. So that's 24 plus 4x. If you want to, you can divide everything by 2 to simplify it. And there's the answer. All right, one last one left. Can we simplify this? Be great if you press pause and try it, or you can try it with me and see how I do it. We need to get common denominators to be able to write this as one fraction in the numerator. So I'm going to multiply top and bottom times x. That means the common denominator is x squared, and x times 1 is x, and it just subtract 1, and there it is. The second one, I need common denominators. So it's not factorable, so I need to use the other denominator. So I'm going to use x plus 1, top and bottom. And then I'm going to use the other denominator, x subtract 1, top and bottom. So I have a common denominator of x plus 1, x minus 1. And then x plus 1 times 1. And then 1 times x minus 1. And then I'm going to combine these together. So I have the numerator as one fraction, and then I'm going to change it to multiplying by doing the reciprocal. So this now, if we flip it, becomes the numerator. This, 1 take away 1 is 0. So this is just 2x. That becomes the denominator. If I look carefully, there's nothing that simplifies. So to write the answer, I would go x squared times 2x, which is 2x cubed. And then x minus 1 and x minus 1 is x minus 1 squared, x plus 1, and you did it. All right, Mr. G Math, over and out. Till next time.